everyone, I am Mulbre of the Mulberry Pack, Den of Snow-Based Wolves, and welcome to Wolvden. So today we're going to be talking about stat gain and battling. But before we get into that, let's talk about Fallon, our featured wolf here. She is a very lovely snow-based lady, so a bit of a heart stealer. And she's even been bred to Finch, one of our favorite studs here on this channel, so I'm like, oh my gosh. She has white bottoms, gray mantle, white shoulder patch, white carnage, gray forehead, white nose line, and white toes. I do love that white and gray aesthetic on top of being on that snow base. It gives her a very soft, very elegant look to her. And I do enjoy her decorations with this mushroom ring and these very soft flowers. And of course, that little pop of color from the green on those berries there. Very lovely. And I think I do need to point this out. They've been leading this pack since 2022, and I think that's really cool to see a wolf who's been around for like that long. I do believe Muna said they took a break and they've recently come back, which a small shout out for Muna here. And a bit of a confession. They are an artist. They do have a commission forum that people can go check out. They didn't tell me to say that. That's just me. I kind of have been stalking their commissions page. The last time I checked, they were closed. And so when they messaged me, I was like, wait a minute, I think I know who this person is. And then once it clicked who they were, I was like, it was like a bit of a celebrity moment, you know, like when you're on Twitter and a celebrity follows you and you're like, gasp. I guess it's X now, but I haven't used Twitter in years. Anyways, so thank you, Muna, for allowing me to feature your wolf in one of my videos. If you would like your wolf featured, be sure to leave a comment down below that you're going to message me, and then send me a message on Wolvden. My number is 163020. Just send me a link to the wolf you want featured, maybe a little bit of a description, and you could be on one of my videos. Anyhow, let's get into talking about stats. So we're going to start with a quick stat breakdown, and then we're going to talk about stats starting with puppies and ending with adults. What we're going to talk about specifically in that breakdown is what each stat is for. So for a lead wolf, you want to prioritize strength and smarts. Those will be your best two stats when it comes to battling your opponents, followed by speed and agility, with wisdom not being really necessary for a lead wolf. Then you have your chasers, which your chasers, you're going to want speed and agility. The chaser refers to your hunting parties. For stalkers, you want wisdom and smarts. And for your finishers, you want strength. Now, those stats that I've mentioned for each of those hunting parties, they do not take into consideration your other stat points. So if you have a chaser with 200 speed and 200 agility, but they have 500 strength, that strength is doing nothing for their chances at taking down prey. Same with finishers. If you have a finisher with 600 strength, but 100 in every other stat, then they're still only taking into consideration that your finisher has 600 strength. So it is very important that when you have a wolf that you predetermine their job before they even get to level 2, because every stat point counts. Then we also have a few stat modifiers, such as a wolf's personality. So here on Fallon, they're getting +3 to wisdom, +7 to agility, and -3 to smarts. Every single personality follows the same formula: +3, +7, -3. The only exception is neutral, which adds +2 across the board to every stat point. So here I have a guide up on screen. If you go to Chatter, Game Help, User Created Guides, it's titled Personality Stat Effects, and it lists out every single personality and how it modifies your wolf's stat points. And it also has a little brief down below on what was the best personality for each job. So you guys can read that, pause if you want to. That is important. So same with allocating. So here we have these stars. So you can automatically allocate which stat points are going to go into what it prioritizes. So if we look here at Evangeline, we can come to settings and we can scroll down where it says priority stats, and we can choose which stats we want to prioritize. So if we do like strength and smarts, these little stars will appear. And what that means is when a wolf is ready to level up, and you push the level up button, it'll automatically put the most amount of points into strength and smarts. If you don't prioritize stats, that's okay. It just means you'll have to input them on your own. The game will try to help you by predetermining where stats are going to go based on the wolf's highest and lowest stats. So the game will always prioritize its highest stat to get the most points. And from there, you can also manually put in stats where you can kind of move them around as you see fit. I unfortunately do not have any wolf ready to level up, so I cannot show you that. That is a quick breakdown of what the stats are, what they kind of do. But let's go into the very beginning of maximizing your stat gains. Let's talk about finding your wolf's baby daddy or baby mama, because starting with the puppy stages, that is going to be your best opportunity to maximize potential stats. So there's two ways to find a baby daddy or mommy. You can either go to leaderboards, which I will not show because it shows everybody's names and I'm trying to respect privacy, but I am going to show the search function. So hopefully showing just the wolf's name is okay. But we're going to go to the search function and we're going to click on for stud. Now reverse breeding is a thing, but that is way more complicated than I want to get into. So if we then push apply filters, and we do have to click on stats, click it twice, and now we can see all of the highest statted wolves that are available for stud. This just gives us an overall high number, which is part of what we really want. But if you want to filter it just a little bit more, like if you have a very specific goal in mind, like let's say you want to breed for a stalker, right? You want to find the best stalker possible. So we can say minimum 450 wisdom, minimum 450 smarts. And that narrows it down to 4 options. So these wolves have at least 450 in wisdom and smarts. So if we're breeding for a stalker, this will give us our best chance of getting a high statted stalker. Now we have here Eclipse Walker, who just has absolutely insanely amazing stat points. But then we also have these other 3, which are also really good in their own rights. But we have this one here who has 1,292. Now, if he has a minimum of 450 in each of these stats, then that means at least 900 of this 1,200 is him being a stalker. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, that makes him a very honed in and focused male to breed to, because the other 3 stats do not matter for stalkers. So that is something to take in consideration. So once you've picked out your stud, then we have to pick our own female, right? So if we look at my wolves, 163020, we can see here that I don't have any wolves that meet that minimum requirement. Okay, I've dropped it down to 200. So for me to breed the best stalker possible, I would want to use one of these wolves that has popped up and breed them to one of the males that I found earlier. That would give me the best possible chance at getting an amazing stalker puppy. And that same thing goes for across the board with all of the other jobs, whether it's herbalist or forager or what have you. So your foragers, you're going to want high speed. Your herbalist, you're going to want wisdom and smarts. Finishers or strength, the whole 9 yards. Once we pick that out and we've got our puppy, the next part is puppy training. Now your puppy training is going to be your biggest injection of stat gain you could possibly get for your puppies. We come here, it doesn't matter who we pick. Let's just pick these 4 here. And then we can go smarts working together. So we're doing the 3-hour lesson and then we start their lesson. So what this does is they won't gain these stats immediately. But if we look at a puppy I've already been training, when you look at their training tab, we can see here that I've done all 3 lessons in smarts and they're going to get a bonus 27 points. Now the bonus you really want to strive for to get that bonus points. But I believe the max you can get is 32. Between 27 and 32 max for bonus points. But this is going to be your biggest injection opportunity. So if you've already got a goal, you've already got a plan, make sure you do not miss out on these lessons. Now, who you have training them does matter. You want your trainer to have at least double the stats that the puppy has. So this one here that I've got on screen, he has 326 strength. That means that whoever I use to train him, I want them to have about 600 in strength. Now, if we look at their 3-hour lesson, we can see that this puppy only got +3. And that is because the wolf I was using to train him literally has the exact same amount of stat points in strength. I was using my wolf Snowberry, and she has 326 strength points. So this puppy is going to get next to nothing from training with Snowberry. However, their smarts is 232, and my wolf had double that, and the puppy got pretty decent stat gains. So you want to make sure to do all your lessons. You can do 7 between weaning and becoming an adolescent. So you can max out at least 2 rows plus 1 extra. I do recommend the 3-hour lesson as your 7th lesson, just because you typically get more points from your 3-hour than the 1 hour. Now they become an adolescent. So once your wolf becomes an adolescent, you're not going to get as many stat points, but they're still just as critical. So what I like to do is use my pup sitters for this, because I think doing it any other way is just way too much work. So you pick a puppy. In this case, we're going to do Megumi, and we're going to discuss pup sitting with Snow. Snow and Megumi spent some time discussing pup sitting techniques. Megumi gained +3 pup sitting and +2 agility. They now have 72 agility. So in between adolescence and adulthood, you can do an apprenticeship once per day with that puppy, during which they'll gain, I believe it's between 1 and 2 stat points per lesson. And I think you can get, 10 lessons? Because I think it's 5.5, 20 stat points in that time. And these are going to be the only lessons, so the puppy lessons and the apprenticeship lessons, where you are guaranteed to get those stat points. So it is very important that once you have a plan, you're trying to get those gains, you've got to stick with them, because every day matters. And then you can specialize them. So if when you do training with pup sitting, it kind of gets all 5 stat gains. But if you want to specialize them with training with an herbalist, training with a forager, or training as a hunter, it will focus their stat gains on the stats that they actually need for that job. I think it's too much work. I would rather just sit on this one screen, zoom out, push down control and scroll, and then I can literally just sit here and do this, like just one screen and work through everybody, versus having to do the extra work of dealing with the hunting and all of that. Yeah, they just got +2 speed, all that good stuff. All right, so now we've picked out our baby daddy, had our puppy born, put them through their lessons. Our puppy became an adolescent and we put them through their apprenticeship, but now we have an adult wolf. And this part matters just as much as the rest, but you want to allocate their stat gains as soon as possible. So if we look at, say, Misty Mornings, they are my herbalist, and we can see I have them prioritizing wisdom and smarts. So why you want to prioritize as soon as you can. So level 1 prioritization. That's because every stat they gain per level really does make a huge difference. So if we look at Borealis here, he's level 20, but I prioritized him on strength. So he has 611 strength. Borealis is a G1. He started with about 200 to 300 stat points. I can't remember exactly which, but that was total. And by prioritizing him strength from the very beginning, he now has over 600 strength. He's actually supposed to be number 3 on the leaderboards right now. I don't know why it's not showing him as number 3, but he is number 3 on the leaderboards. And if I hadn't have prioritized him right from the get-go, then who knows where his points would have ended up going, and it would have screwed that up. Now that we have a wolf who's prioritized because we know what job they want to do, we need to do their jobs every single day. So if you're concerned about stat gaining, hunting is going to be your best bet for stat gaining, because it's the fastest way to level and it's the fastest way to get those stat points, because you can do 10 hunts per day with a wolf. So here we have Borealis's hunting party, and we just finished a hunt. Constellation gained 1 speed. If I recall correctly, every wolf can get 4 stat points through their jobs every single day. So that's a lot. It adds up. It does add up, because you can keep these wolves for over 100 days. I don't remember exactly how long they live, but if a wolf lives for 100 days as an adult, that's 400 stat points they could gain just from doing their daily jobs. So you always want to make sure that you're constantly re-upping that. The same goes for foragers. They didn't get anything from that one. Okay, none of my foragers got stat gains, but you want to make sure you're doing your foragers to make sure that they level. Same with your herbalist. all of that across the board. Gotta keep them working. The hardest one is your pup sitters. They gain so little experience and they really don't have any other way of gaining experience just to even get their levels. So you'll want to make sure that your pup sitters are always actively pup sitting just so they get that rollover experience. And if you're trying to give them a little more experience, you can socialize. To me, socializing is a lot of work, so I don't do it. But if you are worried about level gain, you can socialize your pup sitters and quite frankly, all of your wolves to get them leveled up faster. But while we are talking about adults, we do actually need to backtrack to go back to the puppy lessons. So in puppy training, it's very important for puppies to get their training. However, adults also get stat point gains from doing puppy lessons. So your lead can do puppy lessons, which is a great way for them to get points, as well as just really any wolf in your pack can do puppy lessons. And they do fall under that same, they can get up to 4 points a day. So if you have puppies that you don't really plan on keeping them, they're just enclave fodder, what you can do is train them for like 2 days and then send them to the enclave, just so that way you can get some of your wolves to get stat point gains from training. Because training is the only way your lead can get points outside of hunting. Okay. Same with pup sitters can get points from this, and they can get experience and all that good stuff. To summarize this particular section, starting from the beginning, pick out your perfect baby mama and baby daddy. Once you have the puppy, make sure you do their puppy training. Then make sure you do their adolescent training. Once they're fully grown, allocate their stat point gains ASAP. Then make sure they're doing their daily job. Make sure you're being conscious about who you're having do the puppy lessons. And if you are doing enclave fodder, just put them through 1 to 2 days of training, get some points for your adults before getting rid of that puppy to the enclave. And now that takes us to battling. Now, battling is the main way that your lead is going to gain stat points. It's a lot of work. So when we talked about the stat breakdown and we talked about the personality, those are huge factors in your lead wolf being successful in killing larger prey. You're still going to need a lot of stuff, but I do have this link here. This was a guide written by Maverick, and it is called Stat Grinding Lead Wolves. You get to it by going to Chatter, Game Help, User Created Guides. This is very important. It has a lot of incredibly useful information. I do recommend finding it on the site yourself to read it. I am not going to read it out loud, but it is absolutely wonderful. But let's do a bit of our own hunt here so we can talk about that. I prefer to stick up in the tundra and glacier, but ultimately it doesn't matter where you go. You can kind of look up better locations based on what kind of prey you're looking for or what you're hoping to do. But let's just find a higher level opponent first. Now, you do have to find an enemy who's within 5 levels of your lead wolf in order to gain a stat point. So right off the bat, we have a level 16 red fox. We're going to go ahead and attack them. But before we do anything here, we have options of snarl, focus, lunge, and chase. We're going to go to the grouse house. Now, the grouse house is an official guide written by members of Wolvden. It is a cornucopia of useful information. So here we have battle enemies, and we're going to go to this option here that says basic enemies because that's what the red fox is. So here we have the red fox, and this is going to tell us a lot of information, but hopefully I'll help break it down here. So the fox can range from level 1 to level 20, and if we defeat it, it gives us agility, wisdom, and smarts as potential stat gains. There are modifiers, soft skin, meaning that if we shear the fox, we will get bonus damage. Then this also tells us the time of day it can be found, as well as the location it can be found in, then its potential drops. But what we're going to focus on right now is these modifiers. Shear +1. If we come back to the battle, I personally prefer to always focus. So we're going to focus on the fox. You'll know if you've been successful because of these little arrows on the side. That's just a quick view. You can read it. It says you focus on your opponent observing its movements. From here, we're going to latch. We've successfully latched. You can see by these little arrows. And because of that modifier, we're going to shear it. So right off the bat, we've inflicted bleed. We did 5 damage, and now the fox will lose 3 HP every round. So we're going to latch again. That one failed. Latch again, and we're going to shear. And we're just going to keep shooting. So now we're at this point. The fox is bleeding, it's low health. We want to maximize our energy retention. When you're doing a lot of exploring and a lot of battling, energy is what you need to keep doing it. Right? So you're going to go through a lot of energy items if you really want to grind hard. But now we're just going to rest. So they're wounded and losing 6 HP. We got a little bit energy back. We're just going to wait it out until it bleeds to death. We finish. Unfortunately, we did not get a stat from that one. Oh, we got a befriend option. No, I'm good on that one. We're just going to keep looking for our next battle. So when your wolf is a lower level in that like level 1 range, that is going to be your better opportunity to gain stat. Because if you're level like 10, that means you can get points from level 5 and from level 15. Versus when you're level 20, you can only get stats from 15 and above. All right, we're just going to attack these ones just to keep doing in examples, even though I will not gain a stat point from these guys. We'll attack the caribou herd. We're going to do that same thing. We're going to focus. This time we failed. We didn't notice anything useful. Now, if we wanted to, we can go back to here. Here we go. Porcupine caribou herd. Now they have modifiers of positive modifiers, +2 to chase, +1 to focus, +1 to rest, +2 to retreat. Negative modifiers, latch, and snap. So what that means is we would have gotten +2 to chasing them. We got +1 to focusing on them. Then they're going to take more damage from latching, and they're going to take less from snapping. We're just going to latch. Going to keep trying to latch, and then we get some crushing. Now at this point, I prefer to always crush. That's just my preference. Now we're going to rest because they're bleeding, and we're done. And there are more ways to optimize this. There are ways to do it better. As you sort of learn opponents and learn how your wolf kind of wants to battle, you'll be able to do better and do more and conserve your energy. But I will have links to all of these resources down below in the description. But ultimately, for a recap of everything, it all starts with the puppy, because the puppy is where you're going to get the utmost stat gain potential. Pick out the perfect baby daddy, pick out the perfect baby mama, and focus on what exactly you want them for. Then you're going to do their puppy training. Then you're going to do their adolescent training. Then once they're grown up, and this also includes wolves that start out already grown up, make sure you allocate their stat gains right from level 1. Then you're going to make sure you do their daily jobs every single day to maximize their stat gains. If you have a lead wolf, they cannot do jobs, but they can do puppy training. I like to do puppy training right before I go to bed with my lead wolf, but then any adults really can do puppy training. Then for battling, check out the guide that I shared for battling on how to allocate your talent points. And then look at the Grouse House for cheat sheets on enemies and what their weaknesses are and what their strengths are and where to find them for what you're specifically looking for. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. If you have any comments or any tips you would like to share, then also feel free to let me know as well. You know, kind of help each other out. Wolvden is a great community, and I know that we all just want to see each other succeed. So thank you for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have a positive day, everyone. Bye-bye.